By the end of this video, you should know how to use a semicolon. Semicolons are somewhat ambiguous to people. They think there's some secret to semicolons, and they often question how to use them. Usually when a student attempts to use a semicolon, they will read the essay out loud to themselves. And then whenever there's a long pause, not a little pause, a long pause, they will go ahead and pencil in a semicolon. This is not how you use a semicolon. What most people don't understand about grammar is that it is very predictable, almost mathematical in a way. Students often tell me that they don't like English because it's so subjective to their professor. Well, you will love grammar because grammar is not subjective. So without further ado, let me reveal the rule for the semicolon. A semicolon is used to connect two complete sentences to each other. So on the left, this man represents a complete sentence, and the lady on the right represents a complete sentence. So let's write a sentence. The man waved, semicolon, the woman ran away, period. So the semicolon has successfully connected two complete sentences. This is a pretty simplistic example. However, it really does illustrate what a semicolon does, which is connect two complete sentences together. Now, you won't be able to use a semicolon to stick together two complete sentences if you don't even know what a complete sentence really is. A complete sentence is an independent clause. Both terms mean the same thing. So to have a complete sentence or an independent clause, you need two things. First, you need to have a verb, and then you need to have a subject that pairs with that verb. So you need a verb and subject pair to have a complete sentence, or in other words, an independent clause. So let's go back to a rather simplistic example of the man and the woman. The man waved, the woman ran away. Let's look at the first half of the sentence. Let's identify if we have a complete sentence. First, we need to find the verb. Waved is our verb. Now, who waved? The man waved. Aha, we have a verb subject pair, so we have an independent clause. Now let's look at the other one. Ran. Who ran away? The woman. So, woman ran. There's our verb subject pair. We have another independent clause. That means we can successfully connect both sentences using a semicolon. Now, I need to point out that these are independent clauses because they stand alone. They are independent. For example, let's look at the first half, the man waved. If I were to add the word although at the beginning, although the man waved, ... you see how that leaves the sentence hanging. It doesn't stand alone anymore. It would actually become a dependent clause. So an independent clause has a verb subject pair and it stands alone. Let's look at a more complex example. Let's look at the first half. Clearly, this article is lacking in the use of valid resources. All right, let's look at the second half. It is inappropriate for the authors to use biased individuals as their sole form of evidence. Now, while there is a natural pause between the first half and the second half of the sentence, I shouldn't just jump right in and use a semicolon. Instead, I need to identify the verb subject pair in each of the halves of the sentences. So let's look at the first half. Is lacking, those are my verbs, and what is lacking? The article. Okay guys, it's as simple as that. If we have a verb subject pair and the sentence stands alone, it's an independent clause. Let's look at the second half. Is, that's our verb, and what is? It, that's our subject. Our verb subject pair is it is. That makes another independent clause. So, because we have two independent clauses, I can connect them and stick them together by using a semicolon. Let me have you try one on your own. The author's poorly researched outside resources dampen the argument, making the overall argument weak and unconvincing to readers. Look at the first half of the sentence and identify the verb and subject pair. Okay, the verb you should have found is dampen. And then you ask who or what dampens? Resources. So this section stands alone and it is an independent clause. Now let's look at the other half of the sentence. Press pause so you can identify the verb-subject pair. So you should have identified the verb as making. Now who or what is making? Well, if you look around, it doesn't really say. So this is actually not an independent clause. So in this case, a semicolon cannot be used to connect both halves. In case you're wondering, when you do not have a verb-subject pair, you actually have just a plain old phrase. And so in this case, instead of a semicolon, go ahead and put a comma. So let's review. A semicolon is used to connect two complete sentences together. Another word for a complete sentence is an independent clause. And in order to have an independent clause, you need a verb and subject pair. To find the verb, you just need to find a word that shows action or state of being. And then to find the subject, you say the verb and ask who or what. I hope you enjoyed my flash lesson on semicolons. To see more videos about all things related to college English, go to my YouTube page, Paola Brown English. Bye!